Shalom, everyone. We are continuing our limud of Sefer Yeshayahu. We are up to Perek Samach Beis. Remember that from Perek Mem through Perek Chavav, 27 prakim, are the Pirkei Nechama of Yeshayahu. But most of it is messianic prophecies, but interspersed with the comforting prophecies of Geula are Musar and Teichacha, as well as some descriptions of the Midas Hadin of Hashem and the great devastation of Gog and Magog. I had mentioned that the last two psukim of the preceding Perek Samach Aleph, Sois Asis Lashem, or Bashem rather, is the last of the Haftarahs of Sheva Dinechemta, and the last Haftarah of the year before Rosh Hashanah, and we are now continuing the rest of that Haftarah. And it begins with a beautiful statement, Laman Tzion Loi Echasheh, for the sake of Tzion, of Yerushalayim, of Eretz Yisrael, of Klal Yisrael, because Tzion has many designations, I will never be silent. Ulaman Yerushalayim lo eshkot, I will never be quiet. Ad yetze kanoigat sitka, until her righteousness will be as clear as light. Vishuasa, and its salvation will be so obvious. Kalapid yivar, it will burn bright like a lapid, like a torch. So the question becomes, who is talking here? So there is a machlokas meforshim. Some meforshim say this is a navi talking, yeshayahu. I will not stop talking about redemption and geula until it happens. Because Klal Yisrael needs the message, they need the nechama. Or with a slightly different twist, which will come out later in the psukim, I will not stop my prayers, I will pray for geula. And that's a musar not only to the Navi, not only what the Navi does, but we do it as well. Others say, Laman Tzion Lo Yechasheh, is HaKadosh Baruch Hu talking. I will never stop thinking about Eretz Yisrael and Yerushalayim and Klal Yisrael. Right? So the question is it the Navi talking, or is it the Eibishter talking? So, as usual, when you have the psukim, you can have these two meanings. The emes is both might be correct. V'ro goyim sidkeich, and there will come a time again when the nations will see the righteousness of Avam Yisrael. V'chol malachim kavodeich, and all the kings will see your honor. V'kari lach shem chadash, and they would call you a new name. Asher pi Hashem yikavenu, that God will give you. In other words, they won't call you, kaik, or they won't call you mavuzeh, they won't call you insulting names. They will call you a name that shows your godless and your kedusha. V'hayis, again speaking to the Yidden Yerushalayim as a woman, you will be lashon nekeva, ateres tiferes biyad Hashem, a crown of glory in the hands of God. Utsnif malucha, and a turban of royalty. Again, kind of a hat. B'kafel l'koyich, in Hashem's hand. Lo yeyomer lach oid azuvah. Again, this language appeared earlier as well. You will no longer be described as azuvah. Hashem has abandoned you. Uli artseich lo yeyomer oid shemama. Your land will no longer be called desolate. People said, like Mark Twain, in the 1800s, visited Eretz Yisrael. It was called Palestine, and he said it was so, very few Jews were there, mainly Goyim. He said it was so desolate, so empty. Why would Hashem ever choose this land? It was Azuva, forsaken. It was Shemama. It was desolate. But there will come a time, and Baruch Hashem, we've seen some of it in our lifetimes, in which the land will no longer, you, the Jewish people, will no longer be called Azuvah. Right? The Christians say that God rejected the Jews and hates the Jews. Azuvah, God has forsaken you. You will no longer be called Azuvah. And your land will no longer be called Shemama. Ki lach yikare cheptzi ba. You will be called cheptzi ba. My desire is in her. Right? That's the English name, pretty uncommon name, Hepzibah. Right? Sometimes it's an old English name, but Hepzibah is Chefziva. As far as I know, I don't know any women that presently use the name, but who knows? But this is one of the names of Yerushalayim. Chefziba, my desire is in it. Uli Artseich. And your land will be called Be'ula. I'll come back to that in a moment. And why are you called Chefziba? Ki Chafetz Hashem Bach. Hashem desires you. The Artseich. And your land is called Be'ula because Tiba'el, it will have Be'ila. Now, this is a bit of an unusual term that's difficult to translate, because the word Be'ula is a woman that has intercourse. Artseich Tiba'el literally means your land will be intimate, will have intercourse. Now, obviously, it doesn't mean that, but the concept is, this is, again, a metaphorical way, that the be'ila between a husband and wife is the closest expression of intimacy that they have. So when we talk about Hashem as our husband, and we're the Kala, and Hashem will reunite with us and Eretz Yisrael, we talk about that as be'ila. So be'ila is not, obviously, sexual union, but it is chibur, intimate unification. And it goes on and it even says, Ki yival bachor b'sulah. Just as a young man has sexual intimacy with a virgin, and that creates chibur and kesher, yivaluch banayach. Your children will have bia with you. So this is switching it a little bit. We first said, Hashem will have the kesher with us. And now we're switching it. Your children will have bia with you, Eretz Yisrael. And again, that refers, again, these are metaphors that I think are a little difficult for us to fully work with because it's an unfamiliar image. But if be'ila refers to intimate connection, yivaluch banayach, your children will be intimately connected to the holiness of Eretz Yisrael. Umasais chasan al kala, and like the rejoicing of a chasan on a kala, with his kala, yases alayach alakayach, Hashem will rejoice over you. So here it switches back, not to the children being Baal the land, but to Hashem being the chasan. Now, the famous phrase in L'cha Daidi, which is set to a nigun, Yoses alayach alekayach, God will rejoice over you. Kimsos chasan al kala, like the rejoicing of a chasan over his kala. That's taken from L'cha Daidi Friday night. Rav Shlomo Alkabetz took it from this pasuk, Umasais chasan al kala, Yoses alayach alekayach. Okay. Pasuk Vav. Again, a famous pasuk that's been set to music. Al chaymaisayach Yerushalayim, hifkadedi shemrim, kol hayayim b'chol halayla. So this is said to be Hashem. The Yidden felt rejected. They felt abandoned. They felt azuvah. Eretz Yisrael was shemama. Yerushalayim was destroyed for so many centuries. Even today, that Baruch Hashem, there is so much building, but we're still bereft of the Beis Hamikdash. And a person thinks we've been forgotten. Hashem says, on your walls, Yerushalayim, I have appointed watchmen. You don't see them necessarily, but these are the malachim that are guarding Yerushalayim, kol hayayim v'chol halayla, all day, all night. Tamid lo yechachu, they are never quiet. They are always praying. It is those tefillas that somehow in Shamayim make a reishim. Of course, there are also meforshim that say this is kind of a remez to the tzaddikim in Am Yisrael that pray for the geula day and night. Hamazkirim es Hashem, And now the Navi turns to the tzaddikim taka. This part for sure. And those who remind Kavyachol Hashem of the Geula, Al dami lachem, do not be silent. Al titnu dami lo, do not let yourself be demama, quieted. Ad yechonen v'ad yasem es Yerushalayim tilos, until Yerushalayim is made to be the praise of the world, and that does not refer to high tech. We're not there yet. It refers to binyan beis hamikdash. Nishpa Hashem b'yamina b'Yisrael, Hashem swears with his right hand and his mighty arm, again metaphorically. Imetein estigonech od machal lo yevayich. I will no longer allow your grain and your productivity to be food to your enemies. V'yim yishtu b'nei necharti rosheich, and I will no longer allow other nations to take your wine or your gatzbo. Again, simple pshat, grain and wine was plundered and taken from you. That will not happen. But in a more deeper way, your dagan, your grain and your wine, are your talents, your abilities, your intelligence, your creativities. So much of that has gone to feed a secular culture. And we have not tended our own garden. As it says in Shir HaShirim, Karmi Shali Lo Notarti, I didn't guard my own garden. And the promise is, your kochos will be utilized to develop your kesher with Hashem. So there's a double meaning here. Ki mi'asfav yechluho. You who gather the grain will eat it. V'hilulu as Hashem, and you will praise Hashem. Umikapsav yishtu, and those who gather the grapes will no longer surrender it to the Yomos Olam. They will drink it. V'chatzreis kodshi, in my holy courtyards. Again, the Beis HaMikdash. Ivru bashiarim panu derech ha'am. And again, the Navi is announcing, because the redemption is in his mind's eye. Go to every gate, go to every home. Panu derech ha'am. Make room for the Am that will be coming back. Solu sailu hamasila. Clear the road. Saklu me'even, remove the stones. Harimu neis ala amim, raise a flag among the nations to call the Jews to come back. Hine Hashem ishmiya el kitzei earth. Hashem has announced to the ends of the earth. Imru lebasiya, proclaim to the daughter of Zion, the Jewish people. Hine, behold, yishech ba. Your salvation has come. There's going to be that day. Hine secharayitai. And he's bringing reward to all of those that had emunah. Pulaso lefanav. Pulaso means his actions, but it means the rewards for everyone's actions are in front of him. V'karu lahem. And then the nations of the world will call the Jewish people Am HaKadosh, the holy nation. Geulei Hashem, who were redeemed by Hashem. V'lach, and to you, Yerushalayim, you will be called Derusha, that which is sought after, that which everybody treasures. Ir Loi Ne'ezava, the city that will never be abandoned, will never be desolate again. This is the end of the Perek. The Haftarah, the last Haftarah of the year, will continue for a few more psukim. We will cover it in Perek Samach